For guys out there, among the things that every guy should know how to do, like change a tire, back up a trailer, every guy should also know how to make your own batch of chocolate chip cookies. You shouldn't have to rely on someone else to do that. Who knows what might happen, and if you get into a survival situation, if you know how to make chocolate chip cookies, you know you can survive. So anyway, that's what we're going to do here. I over time have memorized the Toll House cookie recipe and cut it in half, and so for me that's the perfect batch of cookies to make. It's easy to make, it's quick to make, clean up is easy, and so I'm going to show you how to do it in this video. I don't have a cooking channel, but every once in a while I'll throw in something like this because I think it's valuable. For most any chocolate chip cookie recipe, you're going to have 8 ingredients that go into making the batter. The only other items that are needed are chocolate chips and pecans or other nuts that you may want to add in their place. First thing, set the oven for 350. You can find the recipe for Toll House chocolate chip cookies on the back of the semi-sweet chocolate chip packages, as well as online. Recipe's pretty standard. I'd go ahead and do a half batch just because it's kind of easier to make, and it takes less time. It's not as big a hassle. You start with 1 stick of butter. For some reason these days this is real butter too, but it's 8 tablespoons. For some reason they make them half sizes, so I just need 2 of the short ones or 1 of the long ones. Throw those in a mixing bowl like this, and then I'm going to microwave it just probably 20 seconds or so just to soften it a little bit. The oven is at 350 now. The recipe actually calls for 375 temp-wise. I like 350 because you leave the cookies in just a little bit longer, and you have a little bit more margin for error. If you happen to be a little late, you don't burn them. With the butter melted a little bit, time to add sugar. I like actually this pure cane sugar that I buy from Sam's Club in bulk. The recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup. We're actually going to use then half of that to make a half batch. It's 3/8 basically, so grab a quarter cup and then 1/8 of a cup, and that gives you the 3/8. Brown sugar, again, recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup, and we're going to use half of that, which is 3/8 of a cup. There's my quarter. There's my 8. If you kind of put this stuff up as you're adding it, it makes it real easy for cleanup afterwards. And all right, so I'm just going to kind of lightly mix this up a bit. Next, I'm going to add some vanilla to it. Which is probably double the recipe, and it's also double the strength. So if you like the flavor of vanilla and stuff, that's going to make a difference. All right, then next comes an egg. Recipe calls for 2, and we're just doing a half batch, so we just need 1 egg. For some reason the eggs and the sugar and the butter interact so that the eggs make it a little bit frothy. So you can see it's starting to get stiff now. If you can believe it, we're almost finished. We're just going to do now the flour mixture that goes into the recipe. Recipe calls for two and a quarter cups of flour, so we're going half, so that's 1 1/8. And so the half batch is half teaspoon of baking soda, and I just do a little splash of salt in the palm of my hand. Then you can take any type of utensil and just mix the flour and baking soda and salt together so that it's pretty thoroughly mixed. Then we're going to take roughly half of this mixture and sprinkle it on top of the batter in the mixing bowl and start working it in together. Then after we add the final amount of the flour into the mixture, you sort of start to get an idea as to what type of ultimate consistency you want the dough to be as you do this more and more. So if you need to add a little bit more flour to it to get it to be a little thicker, which is what I'm doing in this case, then you can just go ahead and do that. It's not that big of a deal. All right, recipe calls for a cup of chocolate chips for the full recipe. So there's the half recipe, half cup. Never does it look like enough chocolate chips. So I doubled the chocolate chips. All right, so I use a full cup of chocolate chips for the half recipe. Now that's what chocolate chip cookie batter is supposed to look like. Now I'm going to also just add a cup, actually, of pecans, and I just pulled out a half a cup, and then I just kind of crumble them as I'm putting them into the dough. My memories go back to my grandmother making chocolate chip cookies for all the boys in the family, and there were 4 of us. So she made a lot of chocolate chip cookies in her lifetime. So I'm adding a full cup of pecans. All right, so take a teaspoon and you just drop them onto the parchment paper. Get the sizes consistent here. All right, it's ready to go in the oven, and I'll be setting a timer for 11 minutes on these at 350, and that'll give us just the right amount of brownness to them. So what you do with these, you can either sit down and eat them all at one time, Or, as I'm trying to do, you can throw them in a freezer bag, put them in the freezer, and try to eat about 3 of them a day. And then they'll last a week. It keeps me out of the ice cream and the candy bars, that kind of thing. So if you have a sweet tooth, this is a good way to sort of limit the damage that you do. Cookies are about 100 calories a piece, whatever that means. So I guess that means if you're on a 2,000 calorie a day diet, you can have 20 cookies, which sounds like a pretty good diet to me. At any rate, going in the freezer, and then we'll do this again in a week. So my 2 tweaks to the original Toll House cookie recipe when making a half batch are to double the number of chocolate chips and double the amount of the vanilla. There are lots of other ways to change things up, and if you have suggestions, I'd love to hear them in the comments section below. The main thing is that everybody can do this, so if you've never tried it, make your own batch of chocolate chip cookies. They're always better when you make them yourself. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and please subscribe. Check in every week or so and see what else is happening in Dobbs' workshop. Thanks for watching.